The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who's continually looking for ravens. Welcome, Jacob.
Man, they're everywhere! They're everywhere! Oh my gosh! We're gonna die! Wait. Oh yeah, I'm right here. Never mind. Yeah, man, that was a weird trip.
Yeah.
Oh, and let me introduce our co-host, a man who is just looking for a good road trip with a brother in arms. Welcome, Drew.
It would have to be a brother in arms, considering I'm an only child.
Exactly.
But, yeah, we are reviewing Onward this week, which means first we've got the answer to our trivia time question from Saturday. That was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, that was a big
We didn't give you all a lot of time.
No, we didn't.
The question was, what monsters from Dungeons & Dragons appear in Onward? And I will fully admit, I may not have asked this question correctly for the answer I wanted.
Dun, dun, dun.
I should have said what monsters were licensed from Dungeons & Dragons that appear in Onward. Because the answer to that, do you know, Jacob?
The Manticore?
No. Manticore comes from mythology.
That is true. What? Oh yeah, the crap. What is it?
There are two.
Okay.
They are credited. They are in the credits for a special thanks to Wizards of the Coast for allowing them to use these two monsters.
Okay. What are they?
One of them is a little more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
The gelatinous cube.
Of course.
And the second is the Beholder.
Really?
Which there is some contention online as to where the Beholder is in the film. I've heard it's a patch on Barley's jacket, maybe a picture of one in the tavern. It's hard to tell, but it's not as obvious. But it technically is in the film somewhere.
I'm just guessing here. I think it's on Barley's jacket because I remember at some point
there is something on Barley's jacket that kind of reminded me of a Beholder.
Yeah.
Yeah, which for those who don't know what a Beholder is, it's a giant demon eyeball with a bunch of tentacles.
Yeah.
Basically.
Scary. Whereas
the gelatinous cube is a cube of slime that dissolves everything in its path.
Ugh.
But getting into who actually answered this question, Dallas, Geek Devotions, did not have an answer, but tried to tag in two of his friends, John Haryu of the Playing Games with Strangers podcast, along with Squid from the same podcast, real name Catherine Sherwinski, but everyone just calls her Squid. John had no idea what even Onward was, which I guess fair. It came out at a weird time. But,
a very odd time.
Yes, but Squid said could probably argue the Pixies, but they're not really monsters.
No.
And the dragon too, but it's a stone dragon, which isn't technically a kind of dragon in D&D, so And she also guessed the Manticore. And then Josh Adams also, if I can get back over to where that one is, he thought it might be the Manticore, Centaur, Cyclops, Goblin, Dragon, not a real one, but I still count it, and Pixie, and I think that's about it. Here's the thing. Nearly every single one of those do not originate in Dungeons & Dragons.
Most of them,
they're from different mythologies and other fantasies, and they are public domain, so they don't count. But admittedly, I probably didn't ask the question in a way that explained good of what answer I was looking for. So my apologies there.
It happens.
It's a good thing I'm not really keeping score. Otherwise, I may have to award points. But anyway, Jacob, how are you doing this fine day?
Well, in between Saturday's recording and today, which is
a Tuesday.
So we're looking at most 3 days.
Yeah, at most 3 days.
It's a 3-day span. Doing pretty good. A little tired, but that's the beginning of the week, and I can't wait for the weekend. And
any dates coming up for you and your significant other?
We are going to have we're going to do a double date with my brother Daniel and his wife.
Huh.
We're going to have lunch, and then the singles group we're a part of are going to do a like movie
game night.
Movie game
thing.
night. Yeah. So that should be fun.
Yes, I agree with that.
Other than that, let me think. There's something I'm working on. I'm hoping to do more of like a Patreon for my own art, and see if I can just get something off the ground. Try to motivate myself a little bit more to do art, push myself artistically.
Right.
And heck, you never know. It may become of something. So you never know.
No, once you get that Patreon off the ground, assuming you end up deciding to do that,
exactly,
you will be free to advertise it on the show because this show is owned by both of us. So,
exactly.
Yeah, just putting that out there. Keep an eye out for his Patreon if y'all want to give him money instead of the show in general. If you want to exclude me from giving money to, and just want to pay Jacob, give to his Patreon, not our Patreon.
And then I'll just if it gets significant enough, I'll start pushing money back to our stuff.
No, what you do is you just go ahead and say, okay, yeah, I'm getting a bunch in. I'll be a patron of my own show.
There we go.
And then you won't even have to physically hand me money. It'll just move it over.
It'll just go to his account.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it is my account, technically.
That is true.
I'm the one getting most of the benefits for who we're patrons
true.
of. Not that I wouldn't give you the
true
the RSS feeds, but if you wanted them.
Right.
But anyway.
All right. So yeah, that's all. That's basically what I've been doing. What have you been doing, Drew?
Let's see. It was, like we said, 3 days since we recorded, or 2.5 days, let's say.
Roughly 2.5.
I've worked I worked 2 of those days. I went to church one of those days.
That is true. Easter Sunday
was good.
Good. Oh my gosh, so many people at church. Oh my gosh.
And yet it still wasn't as full as I was thinking it would be. I don't even know if they use overflow.
I'm not sure if they did.
Because it didn't look like there was enough people in the sanctuary for them to need overflow.
Yeah, because
there were still large gaps I could see from where I was standing up in the choir loft.
Oh, okay. I was about to ask, ever since you were in the choir loft.
Well, I know
you had a very good perspective.
I know you know people. You might have heard. You get news faster than I do via the gossip train.
No, I honestly did not hear much of anything.
Well, I'll put it this way: the row you and Ashley were on, and there was like after you get past y'all two, or actually the row in front of y'all, I think there was like one person there, and then one person on the far end, and that was it on that entire pew. So,
well, most people like
some of that I know it was because some of that was reserved for the choir when they came down. Not that I made use of it because I immediately after I came down out of the choir loft, brought Facebook up on my phone so I could listen to the sermon as I drove to home to visit parents for the day for Easter. But I know that some of that was being used for the choir so they could have a place to sit if they didn't have someone's already saving them a seat.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But overall, be like the church Sunday was great. Be like, I don't know if some of you don't go to church out there, but it's like, yeah, this was
Easter Sunday is if you don't go to church regularly, but Easter Sunday is generally the busiest Sunday of the year. It's busier than Christmas.
Yeah, for the most part.
Because there is a large amount of people who they decide, they say, yes, we're Christians. We go to church at Easter
and Christmas.
And then you don't see them the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge because I don't know what anyone's going through, but I wonder. So yeah, Easter and Christmas are generally the 2 busier Sundays of the year, and yet I think we weren't. I think last week there was more people there, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
There again, this church is growing.
Yeah, we are growing.
We are growing. It's just curious what
we need more Sunday school room. That's what we need right now.
Agreed. I wonder what the next step's going to be. I don't know these steps yet, but I wonder what the next step is.
Yes, but anyway, Jacob, what have you been watching?
Besides a bunch of YouTube
in the last 3 days.
YouTube. I watched Empire of Dreams, the Star Wars story on Disney Plus, which that is, I've watched that a few times. Is the documentary they're making of Star Wars Episode 4 through 6,
right? Which came out on the original DVD release of Star Wars original trilogy.
Yes,
the
that's
silver and gold boxes.
Yeah, that was always interesting. That's interesting to watch. And let me think, what else have I been watching? Not a whole lot, except for just a lot of YouTube and just trying to, get creative and just, yeah. That's about it. What about you?
I did see a movie. Like, literally, we got done recording. You were fast and furiously putting out that album art.
Oh, good night. Yes.
Whereas I was in the truck going to Tyler. And I went and saw a movie that was only showing. I found it at AMC, but it was one I felt the need to get out of the apartment.
Okay,
I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah,
and apparently sit in a dark room with staring at lights on the screen. But I saw a movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay,
it's more of a pretentious movie, but it is directed by the Russos.
Okay,
who did Civil War, Winter Soldier, and Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, among like a bunch of other things. But that's what most people are going to recognize that they've directed. And it is a film starring Michelle Yeoh.
Okay,
no, I was getting my names confused. Anyway, I was thinking Ming Na Wen, but that's not who it was. It was Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh. Oh yeah,
and it is a multiverse movie.
Yeah,
and literally they pull some of the weirdest stuff in this, and it makes sense. There are universes that they create as a joke, and yet they put more work into that than I think Marvel has put into anything they've done. Sometimes, my favorite part there is there's a point in there where Michelle Yeoh is trying to explain to her family that they were being controlled by people from another universe, but she doesn't know how well to explain it in English. So she says, it's like that movie Rakanui. The one where the guy's up there and the guy's a bad chef, but there's a giant raccoon in his hat controlling his movements. He says, you mean Ratatouille? He says, no, I'm fairly certain it was a raccoon. Well, at some point,
raccoon.
At some point, she needs the ability not to get to she has part of what she can do is she can pull from her abilities of her other selves in other universes. And at one point she pulls from the part of the universe where she's a cook.
Oh no.
And she has a friend who's got a incredibly thick, what's that called? A toque? That little chef hat thing?
The toque.
The toque. And at one point she goes over and while they're back in the kitchen and she pulls the thing off his head and there's a giant puppet raccoon. It's not CG. It is somebody as an animatronic raccoon. And this thing keeps popping back up over and over again during different parts. I'm like, huh? Believe me, it makes sense. But if I were to try and explain it, you would think I was as nutty as a jaybird.
Okay.
I mean, it was a weird movie, but it was a good movie. There are some things in it I don't like most modern movies, if you catch my drift.
Right.
But yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is in it too as a IRS agent.
Oh, fun.
One point they have fingers made out of weenies. I'm not going to explain it. I just this happens at one point. It's like, why? It was a joke at one point. And it's like, and now we're going to keep coming back to this because it's a funny moment. And it's like, okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's an interesting movie.
Okay.
Other than that, I didn't see Ratatouille, even though that's on my mind.
Of course.
Saw Onward. And I haven't really had a chance to do much of anything other than I started playing a game in my own free time since I opened up my Mondays to not stream. I started playing a game called Tales of Arise or Tales of Erisay. I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay.
Because Tales of Arise makes no grammatical sense. but that's how it's spelled, is Arise.
I got you.
So I'm wondering if it's like supposed to be Arise. But anyway, it's a fun game.
I don't know.
It's a JRPG where you're trying to take back. You're in a resistance trying to defeat the empire that's taken over the world with the help of one of the people who defected from the empire.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So speaking of video games, like most people know, be like, I'm not a gamer. Definitely on this show, be like I've said over and over again, I'm not a gamer. I enjoy games. I enjoy the technical work, design of it, artistic work. So I noticed there was a spring sale on the PlayStation Store, and so just generally curious.
What did you buy?
Okay, so what did I buy? I bought the Nathan Drake collection.
Okay,
for less than $10.
Nice.
Sonic Mania,
good choice.
Lara Croft,
Uh-huh.
the new one. Need for Speed, one of those, because I've always loved racing games, and one I've always wanted to play. Battle Chasers Night War.
Okay,
yeah, it was like a little over $40.
Nice
for all that. So I was like, why not try it? Try something new. Try something different.
You might find this is a suggestion.
Okay.
When you bought that off of me, I said there was a game that I thought you might enjoy, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
The name of that game is Journey.
Journey. Okay.
Yeah, look into that. It's a short game, but it's a beautiful game, especially animation wise.
Okay. Journey. Okay.
Yeah.
Remind me that later.
I will text that to you because I got to text you a different thing later also.
Okay.
But
got it.
Yeah. Future plans, people. Future plans.
Exactly.
Can't let you know what it is. Let's just say there is something on the screen that may tell you what it is if you've got an idea, especially considering news that's come out recently. But moving on.
Okay.
News, I think, is what we're up to.
Yes, we are. The only thing I could really find,
like, did we have news in the last 3 days?
In the last 3 days, the only thing I could think of, and it's not even animation wise, and it's the only bit of news I could think of, and it's worth talking about.
Right,
is the new Marvel Studios Thor Love and Thunder trailer dropped.
Yes, that looks good.
It does look good. It's there again.
They are literally ripping out art comic panels from the comics and putting them on the big screen.
Yeah,
which I appreciate.
Yeah. There again, we don't know a whole lot about this film.
I will say
I'm looking forward to it. The toys look interesting. Let's say that.
I will say that the Jane Foster for this one, who is that actress's name? Padme. It's Padme. No, it's Padme.
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. Thank you. Natalie Portman's female Thor.
Mm-hmm. Lady Thor.
Lady Thor. Well, no, technically, Lady Thor's a different character. She's still just Thor? Technically. Legally.
Yeah, legally.
Because anyway,
wait, there is
actually a character named Lady Thor in the Marvel universe.
Oh, okay.
And it's different. And it's different from Thor.
Oh, okay.
As played by Jane Foster.
Interesting.
It's a different character entirely.
Okay.
I had to look this up when I was at the time because I was curious, but because there actually has been a team up between Lady Thor and the Mighty Thor, as the comic line she was in was called.
Yeah, that's, I think, the toy line they're calling her Mighty Thor.
Mighty Thor might be the closest of a distinction, but officially she was always just called Thor because at the time Thor might have been played by Chris Hemsworth, the regular comics Thor. He was going by the name Stormbreaker.
Oh, okay.
Because he had believed himself to be unworthy of Mjolnir, and he dropped it after Odin whispered something in his ear, and he dropped Mjolnir on the moon, and never went back to get it. And somehow Jane Foster got it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I remember liking it. Liking that comic because I read it for curiosity's sake.
Yeah.
What I read was interesting. But the thing is, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, in the Thor costume, at least the one shot we got.
Oh, yeah.
I am not sold on the look yet.
Well, yeah, it's only a second. Like what?
It's only a second, like and it's not even really a good angle.
No, it's not.
But I can tell you part of my issue with it.
Yeah.
You can see her eyes. Because in the comic, she had whited out eyes.
Yeah, well, that's comics.
Yeah, but it fit the character better. It helped hide who the person was because it was a mystery for so stinking long.
Yeah.
Because for most of that, we never saw her unThored, if that makes any sense. Because it was mystery. Who is Thor? Who is this female Thor going around? And they wouldn't say it till like I think a year later. And they finally said, "Oh yeah, it's Jane Foster." It's like, oh, I could have called that. That makes sense. Otherwise, you're just pulling some rando, and that wouldn't be as interesting a story.
True.
But anyways,
the trailer looks good. I wonder what you guys think of it. Comment down below what you thought of the
interesting that we might see Hercules and Zeus. We're going to see Zeus and a lot of the other Greek gods, which means maybe Amazons. Maybe we'll see Power Princess.
Who's Power Princess?
Power Princess. Okay, so in the Marvel universe, and DC does the same thing. They have
the Roman god.
They have their own. They actually have knockoffs of each other's main stable of characters.
Yeah,
and they both have them, so no one fights each other over it. And the Marvel ripoff of Wonder Woman is Power Princess.
Seriously.
Oh,
wow.
And if they put that in there, I will be a happy man.
Either or. So what if
Josh says he thinks the trailer looked cool.
Cool. All right. So there again, if you watched the trailer, please let us know on the social media what's it and let us know. So yeah, that's the only bit of news I can really think of that's gone out in the last, quote unquote 3 days.
Far as I know also. But anyway.
Yep.
Shall we get into the spoiler-free section of our review of Onward?
Let's do that.
So this was my second viewing. The first viewing, of course, being our reactions episode.
Yes. Go check that one out.
Which we recorded the week before lockdown.
Thanks, COVID.
This is a weird week.
That was a weird week.
Because, bear in mind, we're sitting in there, we don't know, we bought the tickets, we didn't know if they had just forgotten to turn the ticket thing off or not online.
Yeah.
Because, we still were able to get in there and watch the movie. It played, so yay. But I remember sitting there going, I was surprised we were getting to watch it. We were the only ones in the theater. I was still tentatively planning in 3 weeks going on a cruise.
Right.
Which ended up getting canceled for obvious reasons.
Right.
But that was just a weird month, and this was like the breath of fresh air I needed in the middle of all that. And I think you can hear that in my voice on that episode.
Yeah.
The reactions. But I still do love this movie. It's probably my favorite of modern Pixar movie.
Okay.
And by modern, that's not really a good way to say it. It's to me, this is the last good Pixar movie we got. Bear in mind, I have not seen Turning Red yet.
Yeah.
But our other choices were Luca. That's kind of since it had been Luca and Soul. We know my thoughts on Soul, how I do not like that movie.
Yeah.
And Luca was kind of a meh experience for me. It was good, but it was like, and I can understand why you didn't put this in theaters as much as I want Pixar movies in theaters.
Right.
Thank you, Turning Red, but whatever.
Yeah.
Lightyear better be there. But I really did enjoy this because this I'll get into more of this when we get into likes. But the concept for this setting is kind of a thing I'd been wishing I could see someone do, where it was a fantasy world that was not our world, but had modern conveniences. And the technology level had risen to, our technology level. And now in my version, magic hadn't disappeared, but I understand why magic disappeared in this universe. But I liked the way it was handled there. And I'll get more into that here in a minute, but the story I thought was good. It was a great story of brotherly love and realizing, Yeah, you may not have met your biological father, but
Mhm.
you actually did have a father and your older brother.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a story.
Yeah.
It's not really spoiling anything because you can kind of tell that's kind of what it is going into it.
Yeah.
And I thought the way they handled, all the fantasy elements throughout the movie was good. Story was fun. Chris, you got Chris Pratt and Tom Holland. They have very good chemistry going off one another. And plus, I can't remember who played the Manticore right off the top of my head. It's on my notes here. I'll look it up in a minute. But she is the Manticore is one of the most fun characters in this whole thing because she first says, "Oh yeah, well we're gonna do this," and oh crap, I just screwed everything up.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It's a fun one. I'm gonna highly suggest you go watch it if you have any interest in either fantasy or early animated movies. This is one of the good Pixar movies.
Yeah,
I say that like they're really bad Pixar movies. Because even as much as I don't like Soul, it's still kind of in the upper half of movies I've watched, so it can't be bad. But yeah, it's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. Go watch it. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I be like, there again, I think this is my fourth time watching it. It's really well done, very well executed film. There again, watching for the reaction. Just as the COVID starting to shut everything down, and so I just have this wonderful time watching this film. Like every time I watch it, I just get goosebumps. Being an older brother of two younger brothers, and like sometimes be like sometimes I really wish I was kind of like Barley in a way, not the goofy eccentric, but just the the atypical big brother. But I think my brothers would disagree with me on that. There again, I'm very hypercritical of myself. And so other than that, be like, I thoroughly enjoy it. I always get like very emotional watching this because there again, being an older brother and the idea of sacrificing things for each other and not getting along in some cases, and then you kind of come back together because that's because you're your brothers. And it's always, this movie has always touched me in so many great ways, and it's still just it's a classic modern Pixar movie to me.
I agree. Which that brings us to the trailer for the bumpers for this week. So join us on the other side and we will get to spoiling this thing. Don't forget that you can download. Don't forget that you can. Don't forget that you can listen to us record the podcast live every Tuesday over on our Facebook page, The Cellcast, our Twitch channel, The Cellcast Gaming, and on YouTube at Cellcast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon if you would like to support us monetarily. At $1, you'll get our everlasting thanks. At our $5 tier, you can get some artwork from Jacob. And at our $10 tier, you can get bloopers for every episode we've released that I've remembered to release them for. And you can get commentaries from different movies. So come check us out over there if you would like to support us financially. This podcast is part of the Culture Box Media Network. For more great content like this, please check out the link in the description. There you can find other great shows, such as The Untold Podcast, which is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story presented in a unique and dynamic way. You can check out their podcast at untoldpodcast.com. Also, and I just realized that the next thing the thing I was about to say is not actually existing anymore because franchise fatigue passed. But I guess go check out. I think it's called the Pop Americana YouTube channel. Go check that out. They've been doing some in-depth reviews on Lord of the Rings recently. So yeah, go check that out.
Yeah.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Onward. Listener discretion is advised. Onward was written and directed by Dan Scanlon, Keith Bunyan, and Jason Headley. I said that, but I think only Dan Scanlon directed it. I think Keith Bunyan and Jason Hilley only wrote it.
Mm.
But anyway, I didn't put down what else they did for some reason.
Mm.
Getting into the cast. Tom Holland is the voice of Ian Lightfoot. And in Uncharted, he, of course, played Nathan Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And a certain wall crawler and some
Webhead.
other minor series you've never heard of.
Yeah, it's nothing really big. Something like, I don't know, Avengers.
Yeah, maybe. Chris Pratt.
It's a B movie. Let's just say that.
Well, there is a wasp. Anyway.
And he is a bug.
Chris Pratt was the voice of Marley Lightfoot, and he was the voice of Emmett Brakowski in the Lego Movies franchise.
Right.
And a certain Lord of the Stars in that same weird independent thing that Tom Holland was
Guardian
in.
Something.
Yeah,
well,
something like that. It's all weird. I ain't never heard of it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus played their mom, Laurel Lightfoot.
That's right.
And she was Elaine Benet in Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Octavia Spencer was the voice of the Manticore. That is, Manticore is the last name, first name the. It's a good joke.
That is a good.
And she was in the movie Hidden Figures. She played Dorothy Vaughan. Mel Rodriguez was the voice of Officer Colt Bronco.
Thank you.
And he plays a lot of police officers in his IMDb. One of them was Officer Martinez in the movie Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay.
Kyle Bornheimer was the voice of Walden Lightfoot, their dad, in 3 seconds of the film.
Yeah.
And he played the character of Dylan in She's Out of My League, which I had no idea what that was, but he didn't have a lot to choose from. Lena Waithe was the voice of Officer Spectre. And in Ready Player One, she was H. Ali Wong was Officer Gore. And in Ralph Breaks the Internet, she played Felony. I believe one of the characters from Slaughter Race.
Yeah, okay.
Gray Griffin was the voice of Dewdrop, one of the Hell's Pixies.
Mm-hmm.
And she was Catwoman in the Batman Arkham games. Wow. Tracy Ullman was Grecklin, the pawn shop owner.
Oh, okay.
She played Jack's mother in Into the Woods. Wilmer Valderrama was the voice of Gaxton, and he was Augustin in Encanto. George Pasaris was Officer Avil and additional voices, and he was a consultant in Freeland, which I don't know what that is. And last but not least, because it is a Pixar movie, John Ratzenberger was a construction worker and played a character named Construction Worker Fenwick. And of course, he was Cliff Clavin in Cheers, and of course, he is the Lucky Rabbit's Foot of the Pixar universe.
Indeed.
As he is in every movie. Speaking of which, he is the first of our Kingdom Hearts connections.
Oh, really?
As along with playing Construction Officer Fenwick, he also voiced Ham in Kingdom Hearts 3. He reprisal of that role. And Kari Walgreen, who was additional voices here in Onward, also is the voice of the Grid in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance in archived audio form.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And that is what I've got for cast and connections. What do we got in info and stuff?
All right, so info and stuff. On IMDb as a 7.4 out of 10. If you are subscribed to Disney Plus, you can go watch it there. Or you can basically rent it most places now.
Yeah, it's still rentable.
Yeah, it's still rentable. Production was by Walt Disney Pictures, Pixar Animation Studios, distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. Yay, I got it right. Release date was originally in February 21st, 2020 in Belgium, I believe. Belgium.
That's where Poirot is from.
Interesting.
Hercule Poirot.
Oh, he is from Belgium.
Yes.
That's right.
Anyway.
That's what I hear. All right, so
I'm glad you used your little gray cells to remember that. That's what he calls thinking in that franchise.
Oh, okay.
I just realized the way you were looking at it, you thought I slighted you, and I didn't.
Exactly. I was like, what in the like? Ow! Straight
No,
to the heart.
And I'm to blame because I didn't realize. I forgot you hadn't read the book, so you didn't know about him talking about using his little gray cells.
Well, now you know.
Moving on.
So it was released in the United States on March 6, 2020. That's before the global pandemic nearly shut everything down. Thanks, COVID. Either or. So box office had a budget of $175 million estimated wise. Its US opening for US and Canada was $39.1 million on March 8th. There again, the pandemic was starting to spread everywhere.
Yes.
And people were scared to do anything. So its US and Canada gross was 61. Am I reading that right? Yes. $61.5 million. And its world gross was $141.9 million. It's like, poor Onward.
It came out at a bad time.
The worst time ever to release a film.
But they had no way of knowing that.
No one did. Unless you would have believed the conspiracies.
If it would have released 2 weeks later, it'd be an entirely different story. Because you wouldn't have had any of the numbers from the box office weighing it down. You would just have look at how much money it made straight to video on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Like so many other things. It would have done what Trolls 2 did.
Yeah, exactly.
But c'est la vie.
C'est la vie. All right. So, speaking of going into home release, Onward was released digitally on the night of March 20th, 2020. And because it became available on Disney Plus subscription on April 3rd due to the global pandemic known as COVID-19. Thanks, COVID.
Hey.
The digital date was just 2 weeks away after the film's theatrical debut, and before the end of its usual 90-day theatrical release, the announcement following Disney's earlier than planned release of Frozen 2 on Disney Plus, as well as Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on digital HD in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. There again, thank you, COVID. Over its first 2 weeks on home release, the film was the 6th most watched film on Amazon Prime, second most on iTunes, the iTunes Store. The film was later released by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD Blu-ray on May 19th, 2020. So yeah, it did very well when it went to digital.
Yeah, because most people didn't want to get out, but they could easily see it on digital.
Yeah, most like for the majority, everyone was stuck at the house. Like these two guys,
we just went to the theater and watched it.
And there again, we had to work.
Yeah, I never got to stay home.
Yeah,
so.
What was that like, people? I really want to know.
Anyways,
and I never got COVID.
That you know of.
Not that I know of.
Let's be honest. Neither one of us know if we actually got COVID.
That is true.
Nobody really does.
Yeah. And
some people know for certain they had COVID, admittedly, but anyone who doesn't think they got COVID, there's still a chance.
Yeah. And there again, I'm not putting any lights to putting funny thing about COVID. I had family members who died from COVID.
Yeah.
I know people that died from COVID. So yeah, COVID was real.
I agree with this, but let's not talk. COVID's already intruded too much into the show's history. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's yes. Sequels, there's no immediate information about a possible sequel, and I don't know where they would go with it, because
honestly, I don't either.
The story wrapped up very well, and so.
But I said the same thing at the end of Toy Story 3.
That is
and
true.
We have a Toy Story 4.
True.
So what do I know?
True. Toys never die.
They do if their battery runs out.
What if they don't have a battery?
They're in their immortal creatures. Let's move on.
All right. So that is all I have for info and stuff.
All right, getting into the summary. In a world inhabited by mythic creatures, magic was commonplace millennia ago, though difficult to master. After technological advances over the centuries, magic became obsolete and was largely discarded. In the modern day, Ian Lightfoot is a teenaged elf struggling with self-confidence. His older brother Barley is an enthusiastic and impulsive role-playing gamer. On Ian's 16th birthday, the boy's mother Laurel gives her sons a gift from their father Walden, who died shortly before Ian was born: a magical staff, a rare phoenix gem, and a letter describing a visitation spell that can resurrect Walden for a single day. Ian succeeds in casting the spell, but interrupted by Barley, is unable to finish it. As a result, only the lower half of Walden's body is reformed before the gem disintegrates. The brothers embark on a quest to acquire another gem and complete the spell before sunset, taking Barley's beloved van Guinevere. Finding the boys gone, Laurel leaves to look for them. Hoping to find a map to another gem, Ian and Barley visit the Manticore's Tavern, once a gathering place for would-be adventurers, now a family-friendly restaurant, managed by the Manticore, known as Corey. While arguing with Ian over the map, Corey realizes how unfulfilling her life has become and loses her temper, accidentally setting fire to the restaurant and the map. The brothers' only clue to the gem is a children's menu suggesting Raven's Point, a nearby mountain. Laurel later arrives at the scene and befriends Corey, who warns Laurel that the gem is guarded by a curse and can only be defeated by an enchanted sword. After stealing the sword from a pawn shop, they set out in pursuit of Ian and Barley. Traveling to the mountains, Barley proposes following what he calls the Path of Peril, but Ian insists on taking the freeway. As they travel, Ian begins mastering magic spells that Barley remembers from his role-playing game. They narrowly escape a motorcycle gang of pixies at a gas station and have a tense encounter with the police, which the boys disguise themselves as their mother's boyfriend, Colt Bronco, during which Ian inadvertently reveals that he considers Barley to be a screw-up. To apologize, Ian agrees to follow the Path of Peril, and Ian's self-confidence is boosted when he successfully uses a spell that allows him to walk across a bottomless pit, where, unbeknownst to him, he was walking without the rope that Barley tied him to over the second half of the pit. Bronco catches up to the boys and forces them to come home. Ian agrees, but as he starts the van, he drives away, leading to a wild police chase. When they are pursued by the police, Barley sacrifices Guinevere to cause a landslide, blocking their pursuers. Raven's Point turns out to be a series of raven statues leading them into a cave. As they explore the cave, Barley confesses that he was too afraid to say goodbye to Walden when he was dying. The brothers evade a series of traps, including a gelatinous cube that dissolves anything it touches. Emerging from the cave, they find themselves back in front of Ian's high school. Ian lashes out at Barley for leading them on a wild goose chase and walks away with Walden's legs to spend whatever time he has left with his father. Rereading his list of things he wished to do with Walden, Ian realizes that Barley has been a father figure for him throughout his life and returns to make amends. Barley, refusing to give up, discovers the needed gem inside a fountain across the street from the school and retrieves it, unwittingly triggering the curse Corey spoke of, a stone dragon, built of pieces of the school, arriving bent on claiming the gem. Corey and Laurel arrive and distract the dragon long enough for Ian to finish casting the visitation spell, but they aren't able to defeat the dragon on their own. Ian runs off to fight it, allowing Barley to wish Walden a final goodbye. He uses the magic skills he has learned to defeat the dragon by propelling Corey's sword into its heart. Trapped behind a pile of rubble, Ian sees Walden's body briefly, reappearing to talk to Barley. After Walden dissipates, Barley tells Ian that their father is proud of him, and the brothers share a hug. Sometime later, as the world begins to rediscover the past's magical arts, the brothers set off on a new quest. Getting into the trivia for this. In an email to Inverse, Wizards of the Coast confirmed it collaborated with Disney and Pixar over the use of D&D characters and story elements in Onward. The D&D team was super excited to meet with the writers and producers of Pixar's Onward, Wizards of the Coast told Inverse. There was a lot of back and forth in the room discussing how best to portray D&D monsters like the Beholder and the Gelatinous Cube. We love that Onward is bringing fantasy to a whole new audience, and it's a testament to how D&D storytelling is part of the mainstream culture now. The gelatinous cube was actually originally imagined by the creator of Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax, himself in the very first editions of Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. The gelatinous cube is a staple foe that players encountering early on in their adventures. It has an entry-level challenge rating of 2 in the current version of D&D, and that's apparently very low. The cube moves slowly, but can be very dangerous once it gets close, as it absorbs victims and slowly digests them while they float helplessly inside. The Burgershire, a fast food restaurant, has a sign reading, "Now serving second breakfast." In the Lord of the Rings books and movies, second breakfast is a meal enjoyed by the hobbits.
Yeah.
Along with brunch, elevensies, afternoon tea, and many other meals.
Sound like a teenager.
Yes. Oh, speaking of teenagers, Pixar's iconic Pizza Planet truck, it does appear in the Troll Bridge toll scene.
Really?
Yes. Which brings me to
it does. That's right. I do remember.
Which brings me to the end of trivia. So, Jacob, what is your first like?
My first like is just an incredible story. It's an incredible story where it's the chance of a lifetime to meet a long rested, a long deceased relative that two brothers have. The older brother knew, the younger brother didn't, and it's just an amazing journey in two people that, for the most part, get along, but they're brothers. They just fight the entire time. That's what brothers do. And it's just this amazing story, amazing journey that I absolutely just love to death. It's so well done. Like, you have your typical perils of journey. It's the typical fantasy adventure story done in a Pixar twist with a modern sense of what a modern fantasy world would be like. And it's done so well. Be like, you don't see like a normal human being. You see, like, unicorns. You see
well, there are no humans in the movie.
No, there's not.
All the characters, most of the characters that we would consider elves, humans are elves. And in reality, they're not your typical elves. In fact, they look more like cute trolls, if we're being honest.
Agreed, they do. But the general perils of what they do, and the growth these two characters have to go through, and the trust they have to the bonding to each other in order to fulfill this quest, in order just to spend time with their dad, which they Ian never had. So, and there's just a lot of heart in this movie I really, really enjoy. So yeah, my number one is just an incredible story, and it's just a good movie. What's your number one?
Well, since you mentioned Ian and Barley's relationship, that is actually one of my likes for this. Their relationship, you can tell that they do love each other, even if they get on each other's nerves. Regularly. The relationship is just so cohesive. It's not something I know personally because I am an only child,
right? But
you totally believe that not only are they brothers, but that Barley has acted as a father figure for Ian over time. So yeah, I really enjoy their relationship. You really can feel the closest there. That's closer than anything can separate,
right?
But even though they do get angry at each other, and we do, unfortunately, because of Ian's indecisiveness and his inability to actually cast the spell he needed to cast, the scene there where Barley just doesn't say anything but sets up Guinevere's sacrifice is actually a very touching scene, because
I agree,
that van was his baby.
Something he'd worked on for years.
And he didn't want to sacrifice it, of course, but it was the only way they were going to be able to continue that quest. That was incredibly important to both of them. And even though the police were running out, trying to catch them. And it's not only that, the one piece of Guinevere he kept, the turn signal light that fell out before, it hit the cliff. He ended up using that too near the end of the film to distract the stone dragon, so it would not realize that he still had the Phoenix gem. So he
That was
sacrificed.
clever. Yeah.
He not only sacrificed Guinevere, he sacrificed the one piece of Guinevere he had left,
Oh yeah.
all to save his to help his brother.
Indeed.
And that if that's not a show of love, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that their relationship is definitely up there.
Yeah.
As one of my likes.
Yeah, it reminds me of part of scripture where it's like the greatest things to do is to lay down your life for a friend, and in that case, your brother.
Yeah.
And
I think it's what greater love hath man known but to lay down one's life for his brother, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Jesus said it, so it's definitely true.
Yeah. It's very true. And definitely what Jesus would go on to do on the cross.
Right.
So going in that same theme, I'm going to skip ahead and do my third one because you mentioned something I absolutely love about this film is the brotherly love these two brothers have. There again, I'm the oldest of three and I have two younger brothers. And no, this completely, I completely understand this of having brothers. You have this unique bond with each other. And yeah, you get on each other's nerves beyond belief. Sometimes you want to duke it out, and then next they be like, dude, I just want to hang out and hug. And just catch up, just like, because there again be like me and my brothers be like, I'm nearly 40 and they're a little younger than I am, and it's always great to catch up with them if it's just spending all night talking. But it's this unique bond. It's just the bond these two brothers have, and Barley being the surrogate father to Ian is just so touching, because you see where Ian or Barley is trying his best. He's this goofy, nerdy guy who is so into D&D and role playing and the whole bit.
I think technically it's not D&D.
It's not D&D, but
it's Yonder Quest or something like that.
Yeah, Yonder Quest or something like that.
I don't remember the exact name of it,
but in general, D&D.
It's essentially D&D.
It's essentially
except
D&D.
I think it's not D&D from what little D&D I've played, because we didn't have cards. Yeah, but I mean, there are maybe versions. It looks like a combination of D&D and Magic the Gathering is what it looks like.
Yeah, but just like overall, this story of two brothers who, that Barley is just trying his best. He's being himself. He's being who he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the nerdy, adventurous guy, and Ian's he's still trying to figure out who he is. He's like nervous about the world, and he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. And I think he finds encouragement through his brother, just to be more of himself. And he sees the courage his brother has and what he's willing to do in order to make this happen for them, or primarily his little brother. And the fact that like you're willing to give up something like his car. He's willing to give up his prized possession in order that his brother may have time with his deceased father. And I find that so incredibly touching. And every time I watch it, I get teared up every time. And I just like, sometimes more like I just want to call my brother and it's like, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing where you just want to get in touch with somebody because it just hits you right in the chest. And I find that so incredibly moving and touching. And so my third, now I'll get moved to my second, is definitely the brotherly love that these two brothers have, and it's just very powerful and very realistic. Very realistic. It's not this what Hollywood junk where they're just fighting the entire time.
Right.
This is like legit how brothers are, or siblings are. And that's my second.
My second was originally my first, but I moved things around because it felt better. My second is the setting for this. There is a part of me that is like, don't get me wrong, I love fantasy stuff. I watch enough of it among different things, but they're all set kind of in this medieval time period,
right?
General setting. So the idea of, let's take the same kind of medieval fantasy world and bring it into the 21st century with everything that brings to it, without it being on Earth and having that kind of issues. It's something I wish more people did.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it was an idea I had probably about 5 years prior to this movie, and I was trying to think of something that could be done with that. I never did anything with it, obviously, but I remember seeing the trailer for this and going, "That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I want." Because you see things such as the unicorns being like pigeons.
Oh yeah,
they're
like ravenous dogs.
Yeah, it's like raccoons. That's what they are. They are raccoons.
Yeah,
maybe inside of a toque. Anyway, you see the mermaid sitting in the little wading pool. The police officer, Colt. I can't want to say Colt Ford. That is not his name.
No,
Colt something.
Ford Colt. No, it's not Ford.
Colt Bronco. It was a Ford truck. We were close. We were both there.
We were so close.
Colt Bronco. Him being a centaur, and it's like he can run 70 miles an hour, but why would he do that? He's got a car.
Well, at least he doesn't befriend OJ.
We won't go there. So yeah, it's really weird to watch this movie and you're going, okay, yeah, I follow what you're doing there with the motorcycles and the Hells Angels, except they're pixies.
That was so great.
Who've forgotten how to fly.
Exactly.
Because they've not used their wings in years until suddenly, oh, look, they can fly now. That's even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Hey,
gosh.
Yeah.
Scary.
And then everything, just you've got the idea. It's like, oh yeah, we could go on this epic quest and take this path of peril. And it's like, but the freeway goes right by there. We'd be there in like an hour.
Exactly.
Like, no, the freeway is the easy way. It's nuts got
perils.
It's not the right way. We would be. I've done this before. It's like, no, you've not. You played
the board game.
You played
the card game.
You played a tabletop game.
Yeah.
You've not actually gone on a physical quest until right now.
Believe me, I've met people like that.
Because if you did know that, you might. First off, kudos for actually knowing where the tavern is.
Yeah.
The Manticore's Tavern is, because I don't think it's on Google, but you didn't. Or what would be the equivalent here? I don't know what the equivalent of Google Maps would be, because I'm sure they said it. I don't remember, because they did use a GPS at one point.
Yeah, they did.
But I mean, they get there and it's essentially Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
No, it's not Chuck E. Cheese.
No,
it's more like
Dave and Buster's.
No, I mean the way it looks like a strange combination of Chuck E. Cheese and Hardee's.
Agree. Yeah.
Shoney's. Shoney's is really what I'm thinking of. It's like, wow, you really did go corporate on this. And you've got investors. It's like, yeah, Corey, kudos for, trying to come up with good placement material and just using the maps you would have given everybody. So that means anyone could have figured out where that Phoenix gem was. I mean, was Audrey who figured out what the clue was to go to Raven's Point? Was that her name? And then, of course, it all ends right outside the school, which I've got issues with. But the fact that it's like, oh yeah, that fountain we barely talked about for 5 minutes, that's where it is. And of course, the Manticore knows how to get there, because you don't see them going the same route at
right.
The other two did. No, it's just like, okay, we need to go to the pawn shop so I can get my sword. Correction, so he can steal my sword because because you would only had to pay $10, but because I wouldn't keep my big fat mouth shut, now she wants $10,000 for it. And then they just drive straight to the school. It's like they could have, and yet still somehow they don't make it back before our characters do. I don't know how that works. Traffic must have been bad that morning, I'm guessing. But anyway, The fact that you've got both of these things back and forth, at some point you're just looking at it and you go, yeah, I totally understand this world. This is exactly what I go through every day. Somehow you feel what all these characters are feeling, dealing with traffic and merging onto the interstate when they won't let you in.
Yeah.
And then the next one is like, yeah, there's a crow. There's these statues of ravens, and you got to follow them.
Is Odin by?
Odin by?
Is Odin by like Odin, the character?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out the by.
Is Odin nearby?
Oh, nearby. I missed the near part.
Yeah.
I just heard is Odin by. I was like, I don't know what that means. Is this a phrase? I've not been told. No, but the fact that you switch back and forth between these and it's like nothing and it makes sense.
It does.
And I really appreciate that. So yeah, the setting of the modern fantasy world without it being an urban fantasy, which there's a difference. I mean, Harry Potter is technically an urban fantasy.
True.
This is not Harry Potter. Even though it's like the least amount urban fantasy, but beside the point. Yeah, I love the setting and how it affected the world and how it affected how they thought of things, and the fact that your D&D knockoff game is so well based on historical information that it actually has the right spells in it and how they casted the spells. And yet, apparently nobody... Admittedly, I don't know where you get the magic staffs that allow you to do this, but anyway. I've rambled a little. What is your last like?
So you tapped on my third like a minute ago, and so I'm going to go into it. My favorite scene in this entire movie...
I have a feeling we have the same last like now.
The tabard scene.
Yes!
The tabard scene. Oh my gosh. The fact that like oh wow, hold on.
The Manticore?
No. Be like for some reason I'm forgetting names.
Audrey?
Laurel?
Barley.
Thank you.
Like a barley corn.
Yeah, Barley. Yeah, Barley is so convinced to be like, oh yeah, we need to go to the tavern. This is where all adventures start. And just like you said, it'd be like they literally walk in, you get this dramatic music, be like they're going into a big battle or something like that. And
yes,
it's a Chuck E. Cheese. I was like, what in the world? Exactly. So
your quest your quest at karaoke singing will begin as soon as we can get it fixed.
Oh, but it's just like when Barley, is it Barley who confronts Core?
They kind of both
confront her. Yeah, about it. And then she kind of comes to this realization, oh my gosh, I was meaningless. What have I done?
Yeah.
And she literally destroys the entire thing. Like, and then
she was being brought to the boiling point in that conversation anyway, dealing with customer service. We here at the Cellcast have both worked in customer service, and we completely relate.
Exactly.
We have wanted to burn the building down in a fit of rage, but never did because we're not that kind of people.
Yeah, and nor are we manticores.
There's that too.
So yeah, just that entire scene is just hilarious. It's like you walk in, it's like, I didn't expect this. And it's just like it throws your expectations completely off, and then you meet the Manticore.
Well, they first bring out the Manticore, and it's some guy in a costume.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, this is about what I'm figuring.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean Corey? She's right over there. And she comes out. It's like, I've got tater tots that need to go to ball table 3. Someone come get them.
Oh yeah, and
something to that effect.
Yeah, the scene that got me the most was Corey when she's blown her top.
Yes.
And she goes full Manticore. She rips the costume head off and fires it up.
Breathes fire out, and the other guy just runs off.
Oh, it was so good. It was like, oh my gosh.
And then the best part of that entire thing with that costume is they at the end when Laurel is trying to get the Manticore out of police
Oh yeah, custody.
They said, yeah, we're just going to go over here and I'm going to, wrap this up because apparently manticores go a little crazy when their blood is exposed to air. That's a little scratch, but whatever. The cop bought it. That's the main thing. And they walk around to the front of this car. The cop turns away, happens to look back, and says, "Okay, yeah, that's enough." And he goes, and it's he walks back over, and it's the melted head of the Manticore costume, and it scares him half to death. Yeah. Of course, they gotten in Laurel's car and are booking it away from there, probably heading towards the pawn shop.
Yeah. So yeah, that is my favorite scene of all. There's so many great scenes.
That is the greatest scene in the whole movie.
The tavern scene of, oh my gosh, epic music, dun dun dun. Welcome to Chuck E. Cheese. Exactly. And then the Manticores melt down, becoming the raging Manticore warrior.
And it's everything every customer service person ever wanted to do. And we never got to do this tavern is closed for renovations. Get out.
Yes. That is my third line.
I'm not against customers. It's just some of them are very stupid.
Don't get me started.
Anyway, because that technically covered my like also.
Excellent.
Jacob, what is your first dislike?
I don't know. What is your first?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yes. Go ahead.
My first dislike is, and I actually had a hard time getting it, I don't like that the quest ends back at the high school.
Really?
It felt like it was that was a big loop for nothing. I mean, it's like you go all the way out, as you're heading out to the mountain. In some ways, I'm still expecting the Phoenix Gem to be deep in the bowels of some cavern, of this dungeon that's got a skeleton dragon in it that they'll somehow have to fight off. And they do technically fight a dragon.
They do.
It's a stone dragon with the face of the school's mascot.
That is hilarious.
As its face, which is funny.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. But the whole time I'm going, y'all literally could have done this in about 5 minutes, and y'all both would have gotten to spend the whole day with your dad. But because you had to go on the roundabout quest to do it, just don't get me wrong, I enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks, Barley.
Well, they didn't know.
I agree.
There's no, and Barley couldn't have gotten into that thing where the Phoenix Gem was without them going to get the piece anyway.
Is true.
I'm not saying that that the quest was not well conceived and well thought out.
Right. It was just your endpoint.
It's just like, this is a disappointing location for this last battle to take place. I wish it was somewhere else that made it just like they had to go all this way to the, I don't know. It's just a part of it that wishes like if you're going to go to that much trouble, it's going to take you nearly 24 hours to complete the quest. It still would be nice if you weren't right 3 blocks from your home at the end of it.
I don't know. Be like,
it's a nitpick.
Yeah,
it is a nitpick.
I agree. I like the idea that it's like one of the big setups in the movie.
Yeah,
where Barley he is just so about conserving history, and this fountain is going to be destroyed, and he's literally protesting.
Yeah,
it's demolition.
And what's great is the first time we watched this, I had no idea that any of that was going to come back up.
Oh yeah, that was great.
They set it up. It was essentially the Scooby-Doo setup.
Yeah,
where you introduce the answer to the mystery without pointing out that's the answer to the mystery, and then you make sure you don't think about that the rest of the time until it comes back up again.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's the Scooby-Doo plot line.
Agreed.
That's how you know Old Man Jenkins was the actual guy in the mask, because where I'm thinking that. Anyway,
I gotcha.
Continue what you were saying.
Yeah, I just be like how they set up everything in that first scene where Barley, he's being an activist, he's trying to protect this relic of the past, where modern society, and it's like, no, it has nothing to do with the modern world. It needs to be demolished or put in a museum or something like that.
It belongs in a museum.
Cult. Yeah, so do you. But I think Indiana Jones, you got a Indiana Jones poster
over there. Yeah.
poster, which is a great movie. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Also a movie about a quest
Yes, exactly.
to find a legendary artifact.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah. I like the setup. I like the setup where it is. And there again, it is very much like a Scooby-Doo.
Mystery.
Mystery. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Mystery.
And unlike a pup named Scooby-Doo, there's not a character named Red Herring for them to bring up every episode as a joke.
Yeah. And gets really annoying really fast.
Fred, you know it's not Red Herring. Look at his name.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. The thinking Fred Jones. I'm thinking Fred Jones throughout the history of Scooby-Doo.
Is the stupidest when he was a kid.
Agreed. Or the way they portrayed him in Scoob.
He wasn't stupid in Scoob, but anyway, back to the point of the show.
Either or. It's just be like I like the setup of how I'm pretty by myself, but it's the setup of where they Barley's determination to protect this item or protect this landmark, in which everyone else is like, it's just a stone. Whatever.
It's just a stone fountain that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to build a bypass.
And it turns out to be this key crucial point in the movie.
Yeah.
And I totally get where they could have done something else, but yeah, I do like the way they set it up. I do like the setup, and I do appreciate what it is. It's just there's a part of me that if I had my druthers, if I had been writing the story, I probably would have set the end point somewhere else. Yeah.
Don't know where. I would even accept it going back to their house. And that would be a little more, that would also be disappointing, but it's just the idea that you go all the way out here and then come like 3 blocks away from home.
Right.
And it took you over 24 hours to figure all this stuff out. Even though it was a great journey, you still ended up 3 blocks from home.
Yeah.
And Ian still only got to see like his father from a distance while he was trapped in rubble. And if things had gone differently, he got to spend more time. But anyway,
I would agree. I think my first dislike would definitely that Barley be like throughout the entire thing has gotten to know his dad in a certain way. Be like he wasn't able to talk to him or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of disappointing that I understand what Ian sacrificed in order for Barley could have that time with their dad. But it was just, you felt sad for Ian that he didn't get to talk to his dad.
Yeah.
Even though like Barley was kind of his substitute dad, but the same way you kind of felt bad for the character. So it was more like you really wish that Ian had gotten a chance to actually talk to his dad. But I understand where the story was going because it was both brothers kind of sacrificing things. Like Barley was his van, and then Ian, it was sacrificing his chance to actually meet his dad in order for Barley and to protect everything because of what they've done.
Right.
So that's there again. That's a small nitpick.
I'm going to jump in on that because that's actually going to be my second dislike. Is I also wish Ian had gotten a chance to at least get a hug.
Yeah, exactly.
From his birth father.
Yeah,
because obviously he wants to know. He does feel like throughout most of the film that he's missing his dad.
Yeah, agree.
Now, granted, I'm not going to say he takes the consolation prize of his brother, but he does realize his brother has done everything a father would do. So in reality, much like Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he had a pretty cool dad anyway, even though it wasn't the dad he was thinking of.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Exactly. But at the same time, it would have been nice, that whole movie, if at the very end, even if he could have just maybe not gotten to spend as much time as Barley did, maybe maybe if the stuff didn't fall like right where he was, but Ian was like far enough away that Barley got to spend just a little bit more time, and Ian was able to get up right before he disappeared and was able to at least get a hi son and a hug, and then that I would like that more, and I think it would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel like I was cheated out of story in that instance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I understand what they're doing here, and it is bittersweet, and bittersweet is not bad.
No, it's not.
It's just, as a nitpick, what I would have liked of the story, and I don't know, because it's one of the things I don't know which is more powerful an ending, and honestly, I don't think anyone, even the creators, would know which way is better. But they had to make a decision, and they chose the one where they chose the bittersweet ending over the complete happy ending.
Yeah.
Both of the endings would have been fine, but I'll accept what I got.
Yeah.
I just wish it was, a slightly happier ending.
Right.
Because it could have been.
It could have been. Yeah, I agreed. My second dislike, and there again, this is like in a nitpick. So because most Pixar films have to do with either anthropomorphic toys
or other anthropomorphic items.
Or items. Be like, humans don't really play a role in most movies, except for like Andy, Toy Story, but they're like, the minor characters in the story. You have what is that?
Brave has all human characters.
Yeah, Brave is all human characters.
It's the only time they did that.
Yeah. And then you have Inside Out. You have
Inside Out, which is human emotion.
With Riley.
You've got Riley is a major character in that, which we are going to have to put Inside Out on the list. If it's not
I
already.
agree. So here's mine, because the fact to be like this, like humans are portrayed like almost like trolls or elves in a way in this movie.
They call them elves.
They call them elves. But I'm more curious about like, why aren't there humans? I'm curious.
This is a world that just didn't have humans in it. It happens.
I guess not. I agree. I completely agree with you.
I mean, if you're going to, and this would be totally cheap, but if you are going to make a sequel, just have a rare human show up one day and they've got to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. So it's just more my general curiosity is like, okay, it's a world full of elves and just different magical creatures, but where are the humans?
They also evolved into the mer people.
Apparently.
Because they're kind of human-esque from the top up.
That is true. Darn you, evolution.
Anyway, not that we believe in evolution.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's my second dislike.
My third dislike. At the end of the movie, they show how everything Barley has been saying this whole time is kind of true. The pixies, they're able to fly. Of course, Ian's able to do magic and is able to show this off at school and everything. And the other thing they show is Colt Bronco not taking his car to work, but going for a run.
Ow, yeah.
Now, here's my thing. Colt Bronco is what? 40s, maybe 50s,
maybe
year old,
maybe.
He's an older gentleman.
Yeah,
he's a sergeant, I think, for the police department. Yeah, he probably could go 70 miles an hour. Maybe not. Maybe he's not had that much time to do it. Maybe he's going at 50 miles an hour right now. Who knows? But at the same time, he did speak a bit of truth at the beginning of this movie. He's got a car. Why does he need to run? Granted, being in top shape, it could help you in the middle of a very high tense situation where you got to chase down an elf that's stealing from the local Burgershire.
Yeah,
that can help. But at the same time, you're going on patrol.
Yeah,
or he is going to take care of an emergency. But the thing is, there are probably things in the car that would be of help.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if he ends up being the arresting officer, he's got to get him to the police station somehow
on his back.
And that's the other thing in most fantasy stuff. A human riding on a centaur's back is considered dishonorable or a slight against the centaur.
Yeah.
So why would he do that either?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I get what they're doing here, showing it's like, okay, yeah, Colt is even bought into all this and he is willing to run. He knows he can run 70 miles an hour and he's somewhat enjoying it. And you do get that nice little luxurious hair thing he does in there. It's funny. Do not get me wrong.
Yes.
But from a logistical point of view, it makes no bloody sense.
And plus, be like, do we know that Colt Bronco is is he the sergeant who has gotten complacent in his job, or we don't know any of that. So it's the fact
we don't know much of what his job at the police station is.
Yeah. So my question would be, yeah, sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're fine.
My question would be, is Colt Bronco there again? Be like, has obviously he's run before, but at his age, he's 40 something years old. Be like, I have this weird imagination where he starts running off and he gets out of frame and he trips and breaks an ankle.
Well, see, and this is the other thing. That last scene is okay. It's long enough. Well, except the school is magically repaired, so we don't know how long it's really been since the school was nearly destroyed and the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It could be a week or two. It could be a couple months. We don't know.
And Barley has to advance the magic that long.
How long would it take a centaur who is not used to running? Because why would he run? He takes a car everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
How long would it take him to train to be able to go from not being able to chase a van down the road, which we see him not being able to do, middle of the movie, to going for a run to go to the emergency across town? Plus, there's something called pedestrians that you can't, because you probably can't run in traffic even if you're a centaur.
That is true. And also being someone who is likes running, likes walking the whole bit, be able to like peacefully jog and walk to a full sprint. That takes time. It takes training to do that.
Yeah. Even if he's using a horse body, it's not like the horse can get up to full speed in 30 seconds. You've got to work your way up there. And here's the thing. He's in an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Even if he's just going, unless he's going like 3 blocks down the road, he needs his car for like 100 different reasons other than just even the ones I've said. It does not make sense for him to go off and is running off after it and it's not taking his car. And the only reason he's doing that is because at the beginning of the movie, Barley said, well, you're a centaur. Centaurs used to be able to run 70 miles an hour. And he goes, why would I need to run? I've got a car. It's the right answer.
Exactly.
Why do I need to run? I've got a car. Now, the reason I need to run is because I've got this big thing right here. But it's not a need I have in my everyday life other than for health reasons.
Yeah.
If he was going for a jog for health reasons and was able to work his way up to 70 miles an hour, I'd be fine with it. But he's going off to work and going to an emergency at the end of this movie. I don't care if it's 3 blocks down or across over in the other side of, what was that, Mushroomton is what they called it?
Mushroomton.
I don't care where it is. You need the car.
Yeah.
Because you've got tools in the car that you don't carry on your person. And you need to be able to get the criminal, just in case, you need to make sure you can get that criminal back to the police station, even if you're the only officer who shows up.
Yeah.
You don't need to run there. You need to take the car. Anyway, nitpick. I know why it's there. I know why the joke's there. It's fine. Just saying, it's a logistical problem in the scene. Moving on. What's your last dislike?
I really don't have one, though.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, then. Well, then let's just go ahead and rate this thing.
All right.
Your rating, sir?
I'm going to give it a 9. It's a great, amazing, wonderful, heartfelt story that just be like, if you have a sibling, you know exactly what you mean. Because there again, when you're younger, you're always fighting like cats and dogs. Like every story I've ever heard, be like having younger siblings, it was always just rah, rah, rah. Be like, definitely it's boys. Be like, you're gonna just like, boys are rowdy. Let's say that. Let's just say that. And so it's just be like, it's this amazing story of two brothers going on this quest to see their father for one last time, and it's really just more them bonding and willing to give up the most precious thing they have in order to let the other siblings succeed. If that's just be like, I'm going to sacrifice my car before we continue this quest, or I'm going to go fight the dragon, even though I may not get to see my dad. I love this film. It's great. So yeah, 9.
I'm also giving it a 9.
Excellent.
It's an excellent, fun movie. It was exactly what we needed right there at the start of COVID.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even though I wish this movie had maybe come out a week or two earlier before the fear started hitting in, so it could have gotten more of its share. But I mean, it's a fun movie. It shows great shows brotherly love in probably the best way I've seen it in a movie so far. Chris Pratt and Tom Holland are great. They have great chemistry together, and it's just a fun quest that we get to see occur. And yeah, that's why I'm giving it a 9.
Excellent.
Which brings us to the end of this episode, which means we need to tell y'all what our next movie is.
Yes. Which
is the Batman Superman movie, World's Finest. And your trivia question is, technically, which show is this a grouping of 3 episodes from? Basically, from whatever show it's from, it is 3 episodes that they edited together into one movie.
Yes.
What show was those episodes made for?
That's a good question.
Yes. But we'll answer that next time. In the meantime, however, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we will catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
What are you talking about? All right, hang on.